This is not definitely not a consumer. I know what we pay for our drones, and we can't afford what's up in the sky in New Jersey right now. These are large devices that are in the sky. And of course, one of the problems we have is to differentiate what's real and what's not real.
That's the Ocean County Sheriff in New Jersey talking about the situation in the sky. Joining us now to talk about these mysterious drones flying over parts of the U.S., White House National Security Communications Advisor, retired Admiral John Kirby. John, thanks for being here. You hear all of these officials. You've heard a lot of concern, a lot of coverage. Where are you tonight on this?
As we look at the information we've got, Brett, and we've now examined some 5,000 different sightings, we've added detection capabilities, additional observers. As you and I stand here today, to date, our assessment is that this is lawful, legal, commercial, hobbyist, and even law enforcement aircraft activity. Some of it's manned, some of it's unmanned. We absolutely acknowledge that a lot of these are probably drones, but they're flying legally. And it is legal to fly drones in non-restricted airspace as long as you're registered with the FAA. And there's thousands and thousands of these kinds of flights every single day. I think there's more than 1 million drones that are registered with the FAA just in the United States alone.
But this is different, it seems. These are bigger. They're 6 feet in diameter, a lot of them. There was a reporter the other day that saw 50 coming from the coast at one, pack. I know when you first came out, you said that most of these are manned. Can you concede that maybe most of these are not manned?
Well, I said was at the time, and this was Thursday, when we were not as informed as we are today based on the resources we have applied to the problem set. I said many of the reported sightings we believe to be manned aircraft. That was true when we said it on Thursday. We still believe, Brett, that some of these are in fact manned aircraft. I couldn't give you a breakdown of what percentage, but we do believe that still some of these sightings are in fact manned aircraft. We also acknowledge that a lot of them are unmanned aircraft. But again, our assessment to date, given all the work that we've done, the FBI, state and local officials, that these are legal and lawful drones flying for the common good.
Okay, the Homeland Security Secretary said over the weekend that right now they don't have any foreign involvement, criminal activity. We don't see them as a national security concern. How can you get to that point? How can you get to that conclusion with what you're seeing?
Because we've done the analysis. We've done the detection and the analysis. We've corroborated the sightings. And in every case that we have examined to date, we have seen nothing that indicates a public safety risk. There are drones flying over the skies of the United States every single night, every single day, and we've seen nothing in and around New Jersey that should give the people on the ground there concerns for their safety for this activity. And we've seen nothing, working with the Department of Defense as well, that indicates a foreign adversary actor involved or any kind of pernicious national security threat. Now, there have been some drone sightings, I think, as you know, over some military bases. We're obviously looking at that. That is a different category, and DOD has different authorities to deal with that. But again, we've also seen no disruption of operations at our bases in New Jersey either from any of this.
Okay, here's the president-elect today.
They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense.
What's your answer to that?
Well, I think it goes back to the first question you asked me, Brett. I mean, we have made an assessment based on the work we've done thus far, and our assessment is that this is lawful and legal activity, whether it's manned or unmanned. Again, we see no indication of a national security or public safety risk.
Okay, but there are so many of them, John. There are so many of them, John. If this was happening over Delaware, Rehoboth Beach, would you be a little bit more concerned? I mean, I guess the people of New Jersey wonder why it took so long to get to the point you are now. And if you see all of this, doesn't a local authority need the authority to be able to deal with it? Is it something Congress has to pass? Because they want to say, I don't want a 6-foot wide diameter refrigerator flying over my house and falling on my roof.
That's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it, Brett, because we absolutely do want to see congressional action. The Biden administration proposed legislation for counter-UAS authorities, additional authorities, to close some of the gaps and seams that you're talking about, not only between our own agencies here in the federal government, but the gaps that exist between us and state and local authorities. We absolutely want to see that legislation, and President Biden's calling for a bipartisan task force on Capitol Hill to do exactly that, to try to drive some legislative remedies. I think everybody, and I think we all understand this, Brett. I mean, we're in a new ecosystem in terms of unmanned aircraft in this country. Again, all legal and lawful and doing the right thing for the public good, but it's a brand new ecosystem. There are more systems flying, more purposes over more cities than ever before, and the authorities and the gaps and seams that those authorities don't give us have not kept up with that ecosystem, and so we want to see that driving forward.
All right, last thing. You don't see any linkage between the number of, that this is all tied together in one thing. You think these are all different elements and different kinds of drones, not with one company, not with the military, not with the DOE, Department of Energy. You don't say that they're looking for some nuclear material. You say these are all different flying objects, some of them manned, some not.
Our assessment to date is that, Brett, that this is a collection of law enforcement, hobbyists, commercial drones, and of course civil aviation aircraft that have caused all these sightings. And it's not attributable to an actor for a purpose. And again, I want to stress to your viewers, we don't see anything that indicates a national security or a public safety threat. The last thing I'll say, Brett, and I appreciate the time you're giving me, is this is an ongoing investigation. We're still working our way through this. Sightings continue to come in. We've taken them all seriously, and we'll continue to look at this. And if we learn more, if we know more, certainly if we find something that's contradictory to what we believe today, I'll be right up here on your show talking about it.
And we will have you on right away. John, we appreciate the time.
You bet.
Thanks. You can add President-elect Trump to the list of people who think the government knows more than it's saying about the drone mystery. Meanwhile, the briefings and the demands for information are continuing. Correspondent Nate Foy has the latest tonight from Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Our military knows, and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense.
President-elect Donald Trump declined to answer if he's received an intelligence briefing on mysterious drones over several states, but promised U.S. capabilities are strong.
Our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on.
The White House still won't provide answers. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy received a briefing from FBI officials on Sunday, as New Jersey and New York receive federal drone detection technology. Thermal imaging used in Far Hills, New Jersey shows what looks to be a drone is really an airplane, while federal officials confirm others are in fact drones.
I believe the people who I represent, the people in New Jersey, deserve clear answers.
U.S. drone capabilities remain a concern. The Wright-Patterson Air Force Base outside Dayton, Ohio, shut down its airspace for hours this weekend after drone sightings the Pentagon believes are unrelated to the other sightings. Meanwhile, in Germany, a spokesperson for the U.S. Air Forces in Europe confirms with Fox News, quote, in early December, there were sightings of small unmanned aerial systems, also known as drones, in the vicinity of and over Ramstein Air Base, with no impacts to base residents, facilities, or assets.
Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, the White House will brief the House Intelligence Committee on the drones. As for the federal technology now deployed in New Jersey, Governor Phil Murphy said that it has found so far little to no evidence of anything threatening, but added that technology is powerful enough to disable the drones if needed, although it's generally illegal on U.S. soil. Brett?
Nate Foy, thanks.
President Trump said, I canceled my trip to Bedminster. Remember, the drones were kind of around Bedminster, so watch what he said.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows, and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster.
You shoot them down?
They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
Well, Guy, we know he is receiving intel briefings, but he won't comment on the drones in particular.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people for the last few days have been saying the government must know what's going on here or have a better handle on it than what they're sharing with us publicly. And then that's exactly what the president-elect just said. Basically, we know, and they're just not telling the public. So I think that will fuel some more discussion around this issue. You described the press conference, Kayleigh, more broadly as freewheeling, and it was definitely that. It went on for quite a while. I think it is appropriate for heads of state to respond to questions this way on a regular basis. He's not technically head of state yet, but kind of seems like he is, right, given the absence and just the muted volume on almost anything from the current president. Even with the freewheeling nature of that, and it was definitely wide-ranging, you've worked with him very closely. I've just been an observer. It seemed like there was some restraint by his standards as well. He covered a lot, but not quite as much bravado. That was at least my impression.
Without a doubt. And, you know, Ainsley, one thing I think he does well is he gives Americans a window into the American presidency. I mean, I just think of some of the most horrific moments, shootings, for instance, that happened during the Trump presidency. And he would bring in the victims and have these really emotional, raw conversations. And all of the country got to watch it.
Yeah, and he would pick up the phone and call the individuals' families of the young ladies who were killed by illegal immigrants. He would come out on the garbage truck just to prove a point that you want to call us garbage? Well, that's fine with us. We're proud to be a blue-collar worker. I think his messaging has been spot on, this time more so than the last time he ran. I think that press conference covered a myriad of different topics. That's so refreshing. We got an answer about the drones. He thinks the government knows. We're at a point now where we trust him so much because the alternative is a White House that lies to us about COVID, that lied to us about Joe Biden's health, that lied to us about the border being secure, that now we have an opportunity to trust a president. And when he comes in and he tells us, I support something, then I think more Americans will support him, too.
And Morgan, a big part, no doubt, Morgan, a big part of communications is instilling public trust. And I think having this dialogue with the American people instills that.
Yeah, and I think what he had to say about the drones goes to instilling public trust. You know, after the Biden administration was not clear about the Chinese spy balloon, that's when people started to say, well, wait a minute, something's up. And so I'm glad that he was forthcoming about it. I also want to say, out of everything he said today, there was something really important and personal, I think, to me and so many others. He talked about the American hostages. And we still have at least 3 American hostages that are alive. We have other bodies there. I can tell you it was so important to President Trump in his first term to get the remains of the Americans home from North Korea. And he got more hostages home in his first term than any president in modern history at the time. So I know that it means a lot to him to get these Americans home. He said Hamas would have hell to pay if they didn't get them home by January 20th. And I just want to thank the president for that. I think that's hugely important that he has shown a light on this when this current administration seems to have forgotten and left Americans behind in Afghanistan and in Gaza and around the world.
And the question, the re-ask after that was, well, what does that mean, hell to pay? And he said, well, it won't be pleasant.
Yeah. I mean, just imagine if he's able to get an end to the Ukraine war, the Israeli war, hostages home, a Saudi peace deal, all of those within the realm of possibility.
So Tennessee Republican Mark Green, chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee. Sir, good morning to you. Help us understand what's going on.
Yeah, Bill and Dana, thanks for having me on. Look, the fact that they're out there saying there's no evidence means that they have no knowledge. They don't know what this is. And yes, of course, some of these wind up being manned flight, but not 5,000. And what's really tragic or frustrating to us in Congress is that the FBI has known about this since the beginning of November. And we're getting informed, just like with the Chinese spy balloon, after the public sees it and raises concern. And that's really unacceptable. We're a co-equal branch of government. The Constitution's pretty clear, and they should have been communicating with us a lot sooner. And it's worse than just here in the U.S. I mean, we've had it happen over Ramstein Air Base in Germany. The DOD has the authority to shoot these things down. Northcom has the authority to shoot them down. And nothing yet has happened. And you can't find out what these things are until you get one in your hands. You got to get it, hack it, and download the data. That's the only way to discover it. DHS and DOJ and DOD have the authorities. They just haven't acted.
Do we have the capabilities?
Yeah, we have the capability, of course. I mean, we've learned a lot from the conflict in Ukraine. We're doing it at the border. DHS has about 2,500 incursions last year, and we can take them down at the border. But we've got to get this to the local law enforcement, and I have a bill in Congress. We're trying to push this thing through that will both extend the current authorities and also give that to local and state authorities. They need the ability and they need the authorization to do so, and that bill will do it. It's just 3 different jurisdictions.
Gotcha.
It's taking time getting it through Congress.
So Congressman Chris Smith of New Jersey, he said this yesterday.
I've written Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin asking the Pentagon to authorize the use of force to down one or more of these unmanned threats to uncover the mystery, bring them down, and find out who's doing it. Knowing that drone warfare has radically changed warfighting in Ukraine and Russia, the Middle East, and elsewhere, this is not the time to trivialize or dismiss the threat.
And so how likely is it that Congress would pass legislation then to give them the authorization to deal with something that Americans are really upset about? Just want to pull this up as well. Here are some New Jersey residents and what they said to the New York Times. I think it's like an invasion. I feel like our privacy is kind of invaded. Or the kids are all asking, what's going on? Why do we have to close all our blinds? What's real and what isn't? Personally, I'm exhausted. So I think that's a really good point what you said. No evidence doesn't mean no knowledge. But is there some way that the government could reassure people so that they don't have their kids worried, especially if it's just an airplane?
Well, we know for a fact it's not DOD. I mean, if they were flying test drones or some agency of the federal government, they would own it. They'd say, yeah, we didn't alert people and sorry about that. And that would put an end to this. We know that's not the case. And we know all of them are not manned aircraft because if that were the case, they would say so. So, yeah, no evidence that it's X, Y, or Z, foreign or criminal. That means they don't know. And so they should just say that, and then they should say exactly what they're doing to try to capture one and find out what's going on. People want to see action. I mean, Americans will take, hey, there's a question mark here, but if you don't show action, like you're doing something, the Americans get frustrated. I mean, that's why we have a new administration coming in. They saw inaction at the border. They saw inaction.
Yeah, I apologize for interruption. We're almost out of time. You said
no, it's okay.
It's not DOD. Yeah. It's not the Department of Defense. So these rumors or theories about the U.S. Navy running offshore drills, you say that's not the case. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I do not believe that is the case. Now, they've not told us that specifically, but if it were, they would own that. Just to basically help the American people settle down.
Yeah. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Hope you have a good week.
Thanks. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
You too.
Brett Velikovich, Fox News contributor, former special operations intelligence analyst, and drone expert. All right, let's drill down with you. First of all, people are not imagining this. I've described how they sound, so they don't sound like a plane. What do you make of it, and what should next steps be?
Well, Harris, hundreds of people from all around the world have been sending me photos and videos of these sightings, but I'm going to tell you a secret. We are not ever going to know what happened here because the U.S. government has zero clue how to handle drone threats in our airspace right now and has zero will to change anything about it. We are no longer in control of our own airspace. And it's this foreign concept to think our government doesn't know what's going on because, look, we are a powerful country, but I'm sorry to tell you, the truth is they really don't know what's going on because we no longer dominate the world in drone technology. We used to own the drone market globally. When I used Predators and Reapers, drones to hunt terrorists globally, no one made better drone technology than us, but not anymore. We're no longer in control over our airspace, and that's what these drone sightings in New Jersey are proving. The technology does exist to track this, but the reason the U.S. government doesn't have answers for you is because they don't know how to detect, deter, and mitigate drones in our own cities. They act like they have it handled, but they don't. And we've been telling senior leaders in the FAA, the FBI, DHS for years about this problem, and it's got to change. I'm so tired of the U.S. government dragging their feet on bringing our country up to speed. And look, this is I'm sending a public service announcement to Kaj Patel. I know he has a long list of things to do at the FBI and transform them. But I want him to know that the drone department in the FBI headquarters and the drone office in the FAA, they need a complete overhaul. They have put in policies that have been responsible for this confusion and setting the conditions for gaps in our own defenses. Those leaders in there, they need to be fired and start bringing in the real experts who actually can come in and bring the proper counter-drone detection technology, the electronic warfare systems, and give people the right authorization to detect this, because this is just completely getting out of hand.
Well, you just expedited your PSA message to Kash Patel, because you can just clip this and put it everywhere. And I would think that the present Biden-Harris administration might want to take a note of what you just said, too. Here's what most disturbs me out of what you said. Zero ability to control and will. Zero ability and will to control our own airspace. What do you think our enemies are going to make of that?
Exactly. And they're paying attention, Harris. Make no mistake. Even if this isn't adversarial, our enemies are watching, and they're just laughing about these gaps in our drone defenses. And by the way, my sources in the industry tell me these drone incursions have been happening almost every October and December for the last 3 years. I don't know if you know about that, but about 10 months ago, a counter-drone team was contacted by local law enforcement in the region to start prepping for this October and this December. But then as it got closer, guess what? They ran into authority problems at the highest levels. They weren't given authorization to do much of anything. They were shut down from using their counter-drone detection equipment because of this authorization issue with employing sophisticated electronic warfare systems. Somebody needs to be fired in these offices. The administration, they don't want DOD, by the way, working on U.S. soil, even though DOD has the best systems in place to do this. We just focus that overseas. We don't focus that domestically. And so the current administration can fix the problem, but what they're essentially saying is they're not willing to fix it.
Look, you've thrown a lot at us, and that accountability, the drone debacle is a perfect end to Biden's quote-unquote, you don't need to know presidency. That is an op-ed headline today that we want to show our guests on our way out of this segment. I mean, this is a lot of, don't worry about that, we have it. That's what they did with the border. That's what they've done with so many things. And we still have a month to go with this current White House leadership. Brett Velikovich, amazing information today. Thank you.
The government knows what is happening. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense.
Now, when historians 100 years from now try to explain the Trump era and the 2024 election, they will have to catalog the gross negligence and even recklessness of the establishment that kept running this country into the ground and expecting a trophy for it. Now, this drone issue is but the latest example.
Our assessment is that this is lawful, legal, commercial, hobbyist, and even law enforcement aircraft activity. Some of it's manned, some of it's unmanned. I think there's more than 1 million drones that are registered with the FAA.
Can you concede that maybe most of these are not manned?
We still believe, Brett, that some of these are, in fact, manned aircraft. I couldn't give you a breakdown. We have seen nothing that indicates a public safety risk. These are legal and lawful drones flying for the common good. Now, there have been some drone sightings, I think, as you know, over some military bases.
Wait, we don't know. They're legal and lawful, but wait, if this is the case, what took so long? And allowing people to fly drones at night seems just really stupid.
This is an ongoing investigation. We're still working our way through this. Sightings continue to come in. We've taken them all seriously, and we'll continue to look at this.
People of New Jersey wonder why it took so long to get to the point you are now, because they want to say, I don't want a 6-foot wide diameter refrigerator flying over my house and falling on my roof.
That's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it, Brett, because we absolutely do want to see congressional action.
Okay. Well, there was more to that soundbite. But look, who knows what the truth is, but it seems really weird that the swarm of drones picked up so fast over a short period of time. Now, regardless of the new rules, it's just bizarre. Our leaders either know more about what's happening with the drones and are refusing to tell us the entire story, or they don't really know and are just guessing with their recreational drones and hobbyists explanation. Neither alternative is very good. If there's more to the story they're not telling us, then they're covering their butts and don't respect the American people. If they really don't know, then they deserve to lose power because they're just simply incompetent. Now, time and again, we've seen this same scenario with the Biden team. Remember, they could never explain why we spent trillions of dollars but couldn't win in Afghanistan. They could never explain why they let inflation soar, or why they allowed the border to be overrun, or why they let government workers stay at home as homeless people took over large parts of our cities. They could never explain why anti-Semitism was allowed to fester at our top universities. Repeatedly, the voters demand an explanation, and our leaders either don't, they couldn't, or don't want to provide one. No wonder the voters finally saw Trump as their only hope, finding him both more competent and more truthful and more transparent than the establishment. And yeah, I'm talking both parties.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.